Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I'm going to call the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, March 19, 2019 to order. If you have cell phones with you or other devices that make any type of noise, if you would, please check those devices right now and put them on silent for me, and I would appreciate that. Madam Clerk, the county attorney's here, county manager, assistant county manager. Commissioner Abley is out due to health issues, but the rest of the commissioners are here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are up here to speak tonight, please come to the microphones, push the button to the right. You will see the red light light up on top of the microphone, and you know you are being recorded. We'd like to thank the Reverend Dr. Wayne A. Johnson, Sr. from Shiloh AME to be here with us again tonight. We appreciate him every time he is here. He'll be doing our invocation. And as soon as Dr. Johnson gets through, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance from the Hillcrest Elementary School students with Cassandra Caldwell as the principal. So Dr. Johnson, if you'll come on up and lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. Our divine Creator, in your presence we do stand, in a place where laws are enacted and made, and we are grateful for this day. We would ask that as we have come, that the agenda might be accomplished. We pray that all things this evening will be done in decency and in order. We pray for the world in which we live. We pray for persons who lost their lives a few days ago in that horrific airplane crash. We are praying for the world at large, our nation, our elected officials. We pray for right now the United States of America, the state of North Carolina, the county of Burke, that all that will be done in this room will be done in decency, yes, in order, but for your glory and honor. Help us to understand that we must live together as brothers and sisters, or we will all perish as fools. Bless us and make us a blessing. This we do ask in your name, and together we say, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Stay right there. We want to come down and take a picture, okay? Parents, if you want to take a picture of your children, just come right on up front, please, so you can get a close-up. Young parents? We good? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give these kids a big round of applause. As our children from Hillcrest are leaving, I want to take just a moment to ask each of you here tonight if you will remember in prayer. Today, an 18-year veteran of the North Carolina Department of Corrections, female officer, was stabbed 22 times by an inmate in serious condition. So if we'll just remember that name silently in prayer today, I would appreciate it. All right, gentlemen, moving on, item number 4 is the motion to approve the agenda tonight. I'd like to add, with your permission, the minutes from January the 15th, 2019, and approve the agenda that way.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Mulvey. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. That'll be 4-0, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item number 5 is the approval of the meeting minutes from our Board of Commissioners meeting on January the 15th, 2019, which was a regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. That'll be 4-0, Madam Clerk. Moving on to our presentations, our first one tonight will be presentation of the electronic tax portal that will be presented by Stephanie Norman, our own Register of Deeds. Stephanie?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just to give you a little background information, on March 18, 2014, the Burke County Commissioners passed a resolution that prohibits the recording of deeds that have delinquent taxes on them. This authority is provided to North Carolina counties under North Carolina General Statute 105-303A2 and 161-31. So what this means is that before a deed can be recorded in the Register of Deeds office, they have to obtain a tax certification stamp from the tax office stating that no delinquent taxes are owed. Unfortunately, the general public doesn't always realize that, so they come into our office, and we've, in the past, have had to send them out of our office over to the tax office, which is approximately 3 blocks down the road. Once they get the tax certification stamp from the tax office, they then have to return back to the Register of Deeds office to have it recorded. And if deeds are received by mail, then the document is returned to the submitter for them to send to the tax office themselves. So this may not seem like a big issue, but for many walk-in customers, it's an issue. The biggest problem being parking and accessibility to our office. If court is in session, the parking spaces around the courthouse are usually full. Individuals are usually on their lunch hour. We have moms with small children coming up to the office, and they have a hard time getting in because you have to come up the back through steps or the front through steps or come across from the movie theater all the way across the parking lot and across the courthouse into our office. For mailed-in documents, sending them back holds up the closing process. And if there's multiple documents in that packet, the whole packet has to be returned, not just the deed, because documents kind of piggyback on each other. That's also true for documents that are submitted electronically for recording. And then right now, for requests that come through for e-recording to get a tax certification stamp, each e-recording vendor has their own online system that the tax office staff has to go into and navigate to put an electronic stamp on it before it can come over to our office. So that bothered us. We hated to send people out, and people get frustrated thinking that they just came from the tax office, only have to go back to the tax office or vice versa. So we had a conversation with our land records management system vendor, which is Courthouse Computer Systems, and kind of shared what the dilemma was and asked if they could partner with us to improve this so that we could improve accessibility, customer service, as well as customer convenience. So they took our vision and they created a electronic document exchange portal, and we affectionately call it the electronic tax portal. And we had two main goals for that, and the first one being to improve customer service and convenience. So this exchange portal eliminates the need for the customer to have to leave our office. We can now send the deed electronically over to the tax office. The tax office does the electronic stamp, returns it back to us, and the customer doesn't have to leave the office at all. In the event that delinquent taxes are owed, the tax office would reject it, but we have public computers in our office, and so the customer could actually log in to the tax office website, pay the delinquent taxes, still not having to leave our office, and we just resend it and they send it back. It also allows us that if deeds come in through the mail without the tax certification stamp, we don't have to send it back. We can go ahead and send it over to the tax office. And then our local attorneys, sometimes they, in their busy schedules, forget to get the tax stamp, and they don't have to leave to go over to the tax office. We can send it over there for them as well. The electronic document exchange portal also creates one entry portal at the tax office. So instead of the tax office staff having to log in to two e-recording online systems, plus our system, it's one system that they can get everything in one portal or one system. And that allows us to offer choice to the customers for e-recording vendors instead of just having to have one. So the implementation of this document exchange portal was done in two phases, and it was done in two phases to ensure that there was a successful transition and implementation for all parties involved. So the first one was in-person and mailed documents. The initial development discussion started in early September 2018. The Register of Deeds office met with the tax office to develop the workflow between the two offices and to provide feedback to our vendor for development of the portal. A test environment was created by mid-October in 2018, and we went live with the electronic document exchange portal for in-person and mailed-in documents on November 1st of 2018. Phase 2 involved the e-recording, and we're continuing to work with our e-recording vendors, which is Simplify and Corporation Service Company, to route all e-recordings through the new electronic document exchange portal instead of their respective separate online systems. The initial discussions with those vendors started also at the end of October of 2018. Both e-recording vendors had to submit work orders for their own online system updates to reroute their documents, and that started around mid-November of 2018. Test environments were created and available for testing in February 2019. So what are our results? We have submitted 75 deeds through the electronic document exchange tax portal to the tax office from walk-in customers between November 1st and today. That's an average of 17 people per month that have not had to leave our office and go over to the tax office, and they're able to record their deed, which I personally think is very successful. We anticipate going live with Phase 2 sometime this month. And then we also wanted to let you know that our electronic document exchange portal has been nominated for the National Association of Counties, which is NACO, their 2019 Achievement Award. And that has been submitted under the implementation of creative use of technology that makes county processes more efficient and cost effective. Our land records management system vendor embraced our vision for our office and graciously developed this portal at no cost to either office or to the county. And our this electronic document tax portal is serving as the model for across the state for Register of Deeds offices and tax offices who are located in different locations and whose county has opted to implement this authority for the delinquent tax certification stamp. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Madam Register of Deeds. Any questions for Stephanie?
Mr. Chairman, just two things really. Nothing changed since pre-agenda as you just again presented your story, but I just like to say very resourceful on your and your staff's behalf to encourage the software company to provide this to you at no cost to the county, which means the commissioners don't have to ante up some money.
That's
So,
right.
but I appreciate that, appreciate your resourcefulness.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Commissioner Taylor to accept the presentation. All in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 4-0. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am. Moving on to our scheduled public hearings. Our first scheduled public hearing is zoning map amendment ZMA 2019-01, be presented by Pete Mentor from Community Development. Pete?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Board, Madam Clerk, and County Attorney. Good to see you tonight. I'd like to also commend the Register of Deeds. Stephanie does a wonderful job. Our office works closely with the Register of Deeds office, and they're always very cooperative and provide us information in a very timely manner. I think that's a great thing that they've done there for the citizens of Burke County. Tonight I'd like to bring before you a zoning map amendment request. This is from the applicant's name's Michael Schifoletti. This is for a 0.46 acre parcel of land that's located along NC 181. The actual address is 2971 NC 181. And for the record, I'll just state the parcel identification numbers. PIN number 178-504-8960, and the REID number is 24916. And as I mentioned, this is a rezoning request. The applicant wishes to rezone the property from the current zoning of R3, that's residential 3, to the general business zoning district. I'll be fairly brief in my presentation because y'all have had the information for a little bit, and some discussion took place at pre-agenda, so I won't take up much of your time tonight. But the important thing is the request is to rezone from the residential 3 to general business zoning. This property is, as the map shows, currently zoned R3. If you notice, there's a property to the east that is zoned general business. Originally, it was thought that that property had a business on it, but further investigation, it's just a lot of accumulated personal items that are on that property. It's not really operated as a business, but it is zoned general business, and because of that close proximity, this request would be in line with state statutes in that this would not be considered a spot zone if this property were to be rezoned to general business. The existing land uses in the area predominantly residential in nature. There's also a lot of vacant land in the area as well. The closest actual commercial businesses are approximately a mile in each direction of 181 to the closest commercial business. The aerial photo shows the property there. It has 2 existing structures on the property. One of those structures, it looks like it might be a dwelling, but records show that structure has been used as a business in the past, and the closest documented information that I could find regarding this property was in a deed reference that called the business Doula's Grill, and that was in place sometime after 2011 was that deed reference. So although the property has been vacant for quite some time, it looks like there has been a business on that property before, and speaking verbally with people from that area, there has been commercial activity on that property for in the past number of years. The planning board met to look at this case, and they had some questions about some things. Some concerns were brought up from citizens in the area, and those concerns, comments are in your packet there. I would like to address just a couple of those things, because since the time of the original report, I have spoken to several agencies about some of these concerns and have gotten some answers. One of the concerns about this property being rezoned to business was the access, the road, the speed limit along 181, and the problem of this being zoned to commercial, how that would affect safety along NC 181. One of the citizens made a comment that the highway would be widened in a NCDOT road widening, current DOT widening project that was in the foreseeable future. In speaking with Chad Young of NCDOT, he informed me that there is no such widening project for this area of 181. Another concern that was brought up at the planning board meeting was the septic system. This property has been there for quite some time. I think the original structure dates back to probably the early 50s, if not before. And so whatever septic system is on that property is that old. The concern was that if a business was to take this over, it would create septic issues which the surrounding property owners would have to deal with. And in speaking with the Environmental Health Department, they informed me they do not have any records of the septic system because it is so old, but said before any use of those structures could take place, the Environmental Health Department would have to come out and evaluate that septic system and approve that septic system for whatever use was intended for those structures. Another concern that citizens had was there was a claim that there was underground storage tanks from a past business located on that property. I took a long time, but I was able to reach a Garrick Williams with North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. He's in the waste management department or section of that agency, and he did some research and was able to tell me that there was no record of any underground storage tanks being located on that property. So there was a couple concerns that were brought up that I think this information sort of puts to rest. The other concern was the small size and again the highway ingress, egress, and parking. Those things would have to be looked at if the property were to be rezoned, and prior to any commercial use of the property, the developer would have to submit a site development plan to our department, which we would review in coordination with NCDOT, the Environmental Health Department, building inspections, and other various agencies. So any proposed use of these structures and the land in general would be reviewed prior to any approval and permits for a proposed use to be done on that property. So after hearing the public, the applicant, and staff's report, the planning board voted 3-2 to recommend approval of this rezoning application. Staff, didn't really make its own recommendation on this. There's pros and cons involved in this decision, but the main things are that the property, subject property does have a general business zone property just adjacent to it, so there's no issue of a spot zone. The comprehensive plan, although this is in a rural area, according to the comprehensive plan, it is located along a major transportation corridor where you would expect some commercial development to take place. So that basically concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Peter. All right, gentlemen, you heard Pete's presentation. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I had several last week. I was hoping Steve would get an answer to them, and one of them was the safety issue, and the other one, we did not need to know the business going, but we needed somewhat to know the style of business or what traffic count it would take for that business to be successful. Because you've got a huge safety issue with traffic, and enough cars can't park to sustain a business, is what we discussed last time. And the other question I had, is there not a minimum size lot that can be changed to a business?
I'll answer that question first. The zoning ordinance does have minimum lot size requirements for residential development, but none for commercial or industrial development. So there is no minimum lot size requirement. As I mentioned, before any use could take place on this property, somebody would have to come forth with a site development plan for whatever specific business they were proposing, and that business would be reviewed by different agencies, including our department, to see, one, that would be an allowed use in that district, and then, as you're concerned, the access and the parking and things of that nature would be reviewed to make sure they would be safe, if they could be.
The house that's there now, is it lived in?
It's not. It's vacant.
It's vacant.
Yes, sir.
Is it built, styled in a manner to accommodate business?
I have
Is
not.
it a residence?
I had not been inside the structure. The last known use of that structure was commercial. I think it was a convenience type store. So I don't know what the interior of any of those structures are like, but before they could be used, occupied, building inspections and the fire marshal would both inspect them for the appropriate code. If it was a commercial building, it'd be inspected for the commercial code. If it was residential, it would have to be inspected for residential code before somebody could occupy the building.
I believe Steve told us your board did not approve it as a whole.
Not as a whole, it was 3-2. The planning board you met?
Yeah, the planning board.
Yeah, 3-2 vote.
It just appears it has more negatives than it does positives to become zoned as a business. That's all I have.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Pete, when the planning board met, did they have all the information from we have now? Because you've alleviated some of my concerns because we were talking about whether there were problems underground, environmental health issues, DOT issues. You've done a good job with that research. So when the planning board met, did they have all that information from?
Did not. These concerns were actually brought up at the planning board meeting.
And that's what I assumed from what you had said, that since the planning board meeting met, that we've got the information to alleviate those concerns that they brought up.
Right. Some of them, right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none at this time, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to ZMA 2019-01? Seeing and hearing no one, I will close the public hearing. At this time, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt ordinance number 2019-02, amending the Burke County zoning map and related consistency statement. That statement being the proposed rezoning would be consistent with the 2016-2030 Burke County Strategic Land Use Plan and considered reasonable and in the public interest because the proposed zoning reclassification is consistent with the purposes, goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted land use plan and other plans for the physical development of the county as adopted by the Board of Commissioners. The proposed zoning reclassification is compatible with the overall character of the existing development in the immediate vicinity of the subject property. There is adequate public facilities and services to serve the subject property, including but not limited to roadways, parks, recreational facilities, police and fire protection, schools, stormwater drainage systems, water supplies and wastewater treatment systems, and garbage services. And the proposed zoning reclassification will not adversely affect a known archaeological, environmental, historical, or cultural resource.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard Commissioner Britton's motion. All in favor signify by raising of the right hand. All opposed? That'll be 3-1, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Taylor in the negative. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to item number 8, informal public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up tonight?
I'm very pleased to report that we have 4 citizens signed up to
All
speak.
right.
I would call Miss Gwen Hood.
State your name for the record, Gwen, even though we know you.
My name is Gwen Hood. No, that'll be ready. There you go. My name is Gwen Hood, and I am here to represent the Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance. And I live here in Morganton. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. In front of you, you have a handout that I gave everybody a copy, like this. Different colors, and that is something that we placed last week with Lieutenant Massey at Animal Control. We're also going to put those with the Morganton Public Safety, with Chief Rector and vets offices, and maybe some other more visible locations. The handout is for the officers to help aid them as well, if they come across any families that need assistance. This is to try to offer another solution instead of having to surrender that animal over to Animal Control. We would also like to bring to your attention and ask you to consider amending our current animal ordinance to include Charlie's Law. This is a petition that is circulating now. Charlie's Law will allow rescue organizations to pull animals that are deemed unadoptable. Most of the times these animals are actually very adoptable. They're just really scared. And so sometimes there is a mislabeling of an animal that is aggressive versus dangerous and just more out of fear. This is an extremely urgent change that is needed currently at animal control. Every county around us do allow rescues to do this, and our county manager and his staff have also included this in his recommendations. So we would like to work as our organization to help with this particular situation and to help provide information constructive in helping to make this happen. So we would like to work together to, if we can, to work on changing that. And finally, we would really wish to commend our county manager and Kay and Lance, our county commissioners. And I'm sorry that Wayne is not here. I hope he's feeling better. And also to Sheriff Wisnett for not only listening to our concerns, but making real positive changes for animal welfare, especially for the animals facing euthanasia and animal control. We are moving ever closer to becoming a no-kill county. You have become champions. You have become heroes for the animals. The Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance, we're here to help you in this endeavor in any way possible. Our county officials make us proud. And through Advance Burke, we are truly becoming a county that is proactive, that is progressive, and most importantly, compassionate. And that is a county anyone would want to live in. It is with the deepest gratitude and a heartfelt thank you to each of you for all that you are doing to save these precious lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen.
Carla Wallace.
Well, is it on? Okay.
You're good.
I'm Carla Wallace. I'm with Partners for Cats and Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance. I would like to talk to you today about the cats at Burke County Animal Control. I'm the video person for the cats, meaning that I'm the one that is able to take pictures and videos of the cats, but only the ones that are deemed tame. I was allowed to video them as soon as they knew the cats were tame, which was working very well. It gave us time to network and to find them fosters or doctors, but it was changed with no reason given. Now I can only video them once they are deemed tame and available for adoption, which puts them urgent right away and makes it difficult on us. We would like to ask for that to be changed back to the way it was originally, to moving them into the video room as soon as they are tame. Also, on the dogs, we are allowed to video or take pictures of all of them. On the cats, we would like to request the same, to be allowed. Currently, I can only describe the majority of the cats. They are housed in the big cat room in large cages. I go in and describe each one as best I can, but I feel this is not adequate. We can video the dogs, so why can't we video the cats? I could take a quick video of the other cats because I know taking pictures would take too long. So I'm asking for videos to save time for the person taking me back. I feel that this will greatly help many of the cats to be saved from euthanasia. A majority of the cats are not getting out due to no exposure. Many of them do or did have homes. Cats are very different from dogs. Dogs wag tails even in the worst conditions. Cats do not. They will cower down, shut down, and if messed with, they are often mistaken for feral, even if tame. This means owned cats who are afraid don't get a chance, as our animal control euthanizes all the ones deemed feral. I feel that with the dogs, or like with the dogs, that taking videos of the cats will help many cats get home to their owners. I'm constantly contacted asking me to look for cats, but honestly, how much can I do? A black cat to me and them can be very different. It is very hard to tell. With a video, they can see themselves and hopefully get more cats returned home or rescued. This is my goal today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carla.
Miss Debbie Hawkins.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Hawkins. I'm president of the Reason Program. I'm only going to take like 30 seconds of your time. On behalf of Reason, I would like to thank Kadron, Lance Riddle, and Brian Steen for all of your hard work and attention in preparing the animal shelter proposal, in addition to all of the other items that you must attend to. We appreciate the county commissioners and the sheriff's department for your time in considering their proposal and for looking at ways to improve animal welfare in Burke County. Thank you.
Mr. Bryant Lindsay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I come tonight seeking just a little bit of information regarding an item that's posted in the News Herald yesterday. It's been posted earlier as well. I don't think it's one of your postings, and I've provided a copy to Kay, but I wanted to read it to you and seek information, although I understand that this is not a question-answer kind of situation. AT&T Mobility LLC is proposing to construct a new telecommunications tower facility located at 5824 NC 181 Morganton, Burke County, North Carolina. The new facility will consist of a 200-foot overall height monopole telecommunications tower. Any interested party wishing to submit comments regarding the potential effects the proposed facility may have on any historic property may do so by sending comments to project, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Susquehanna Trail, South York, Pennsylvania, or via telephone at 443-866-1410. My question, which I pose only rhetorically, is whether or when the commission has any say-so in whether or not a facility would be built at that site, because I would like to be prepared to address it properly, and for other people in the county to be able to address it properly, you know, with you or with the Planning Commission or with your Board of Adjustment or with the manager, you know, however, it would be addressed. But it may well be that you have no, control or input on this whatsoever. I would note that if a 200-foot monopole is put at that particular location on the highest hill that is there, that it would be about 500 feet higher than Jawara, which is about 2.5 miles away, straight line distance. And I would also note that I think that the location that is proposed is on a North Carolina scenic byway, and that I believe that there are some restrictions that can apply with respect to that. I just wanted to try to make certain that I understood the process appropriately when I bring it to Mr. Steen or some of his, his managers in terms of knowing when you all get a chance at this. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the cards that I had.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to item number 9. At this time, I want to introduce Brian Steen, County Manager, to review the consent agenda. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have 10, I believe it's 10 items on your consent agenda. First is the BOC proclamation declaring Youth and Government Day. Item 2, clerk resolution appointing new review officers. Item 3, community development resolution to support 2020 recreational trails program grant application for the Over the Victory Night Historic Trail Boardwalk. Item 4 is community development resolution to support 2020 recreational trails program grant application. Item 5, community development Cranberry Bog convenience site land purchase. Item 6, fire marshal appointments to the local emergency planning committee. Item 7, fire marshal adoption of revised LEPC bylaws. Item 8, general services approval of water shortage response plan. Item 9, tax department tax collection report for February 2019. And item 10, tax department release refund report for February 2019. That concludes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Brian. Will you entertain a motion at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we approve all 10 consent agenda items as rendered.
All right, you've heard the motion by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that'd be 4-0. Thank you so much. Moving on, item number 10 is our items for decision. Our first item will be presentation of the animal shelter information and options presented by Brian Steen, County Manager, along with other county staff. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and our public audience that are viewing this. Kay and Lance are the ones that did the work and are best prepared to do a short presentation of what's been looked at and proposed to the board for consideration.
All right. Okay, a little background information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The chairman asked us to prepare a report on animal shelter, and these are our findings, and we're lovingly calling it the Animal Services Recommendation. And I'd like to start off by thanking a few people who helped us prepare our report. Thank you, Scott. Obviously, the board and staff, various counties across North Carolina provided information. The Animal Advisory Board shared their survey data with us early. Numerous animal advocates who are passionate about animal welfare in Burke County, and especially Lance Riddle. He would probably like to choke me on some days when we were working on this, but we hunkered down and got through it. These are some photos of the current facility on Kirksey Drive, and it's built in the 70s and it's dated. It's been well loved. Interior. I'm just going to quickly paraphrase these recommendations for time's sake. We are asking that the commissioners appropriate at least $15,000 to spruce up the animal shelter, to make some minor repairs, cleaning, painting, electrical, those sort of things, and that we do it within 90 days. Replace some outdated, worn-out office furniture, and upgrade the computers and software and network within the next 30 days so that we can use social media. So we need to have our good computer system going. We'd like to issue an RFQ for a firm with extensive animal shelter building expertise and animal welfare experience to conduct a facility needs study to learn the true needs of a shelter for now and in the future. And then once the RFQ process is complete, we would hopefully at the April meeting ask the board to select a firm and appropriate some money for that firm. We recommend that the county explore a variety of funding options for a new facility. We recommend, next slide. Oh. We recommend that the staff work with the finance department to make sure that any contributions that folks would like to make that are fully accepted by the IRS. We would like to, and this is with regard to the organizational structure, we would like to recommend that the Animal Services Department be placed under the authority of the County Manager's Office as a standalone department, that the Sheriff's Office continue animal control operations with the day-to-day business of the Sheriff's Office would handle animal control operations, and the day-to-day operations of the shelter would be conducted by county staff. With regard to personnel, we would recommend that the Animal Services Department have 3 full-time employees, a director, a shelter coordinator, and 1 technician or some other comparable position. We recommend that a robust volunteer program be developed and implemented. We are not recommending that inmate labor be used moving forward. Moving on to operations, we recommend that the hours of the Animal Services Center be Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., that adoptions for public and rescue groups take place from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. daily, and that we cease the sale of animal carcasses as a source of revenue, and that the Animal Services staff develop their standard operating procedures within 30 days or less. Moving on to education and marketing, that we're recommending that they use all forms of social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter to let folks know that we do have animals out there for adoption and hopefully decrease the euthanasia rate significantly. We recommend that staff post pictures of these animals very often and engage the community by perhaps having an animal of the week with a short write-up and photo of the animal. Social media should be used to inform the public about any events going on at the shelter or changes in hours, that sort of thing. We recommend that, and we've moved on to education and marketing, that staff work with groups such as Reason, Vets, and other foster groups to inform the public about any spay or neutering services and events using social media and traditional media methods. That staff should collaborate with the Burke County Schools and Reason to expand our educational programs, including presentations made at civic organizations and events like that about the importance of spay, neuter events, and make resources available to them. Here are some low or no-cost education marketing recommendations. One was K9 Cop for a Day. I believe they were doing that out in Kansas. We could, and I hope we will do this, feature adoptable pets at commissioner meetings. Animal Services can partner with county departments and municipalities to advertise on digital signage and other areas to increase awareness of animal services, adoptions, and spay and neuter services. We would like to utilize billboard space on I-40 to get that message out about adoptions and spay and neuter. We would like to reach out to local news media for free or reduced advertising for public service announcements or Pet of the Week features. We would like to partner with Reason, local vets, foster groups to potentially develop a free spay and neuter day. And we would like to recommend that we hire a marketing firm to rebrand the image of the animal shelter, the Animal Services Department, and the Animal Services Center, and to promote spay and neuter education and services. Moving on to adoptions, we recommend that staffs research home fostering opportunities, that they research and evaluate current adoption fees to ensure that our fees are not hindering anybody from adopting an animal. We further recommend that they research the prospect of approved rescue groups pulling animals that have been deemed aggressive by staff to be evaluated by an animal behavioral specialist. Again, on adoptions, we would recommend that public and rescue groups take place from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. daily, and that a trap, neuter, and return program for feral community cats be implemented. And then lastly, what I'm now calling the legislative section is that we evaluate any changes to the animal ordinance to make it better, cleaner, clearer, and then to particularly maybe look at that cat colony section to see if there's anything that needs to be changed or removed in regards to that section. That's all the recommendations that we had. The request before the board today is, there's 3 items in your packet. The first would be to, for us to gain input from citizens, animal advocates, and rescue agencies by creating an email address to receive that input and hold a staff-facilitated workshop within 90 days. And to direct us to issue an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications for an animal shelter facility needs assessment, and to appropriate up to $15,000 of general fund balance for refreshing the animal shelter. And that concludes my presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kay. Questions or comments for Kay at this time from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I had a question on that facility study RFQ cost. What is going to be the cost of that? Do we know at this point? Any idea?
Other than advertising, it doesn't cost much to issue the RFQ. It's when you come back and you find one and then you work with them to negotiate a price.
Okay. And another question I had was on page 79. I talked to Brian just briefly about this a little yesterday, but the Hickory has agreed to pay an inbound fee, and it's up to $25,000, I believe. And I just wondered, did we know how much they participated last year at this point? Does anyone know?
Do you mean the city of Morganton?
Yes.
They pay about $9,300 or $9,700 a year.
I read with great interest the survey, and it's on page 120 where all that starts. But I was delighted to see that so many of our good citizens agreed that the county should not fund that expense by themselves. And my question, I guess, how do we organize this to where we can allow or permit them to participate, and how do we do it in a form that we know before we do our budget how much money we're going to have to put up to make it work? So I don't know who would find that out for us, but that certainly would be a lot of help. And then I don't know, I don't think any of us have got to the point, Brian and I talked about that a little bit too, that, you know, how we construct this. in such a manner that it's most efficient for the county and the taxpayers, and yet we conclude and achieve what we're after to achieve. And one of the crazy ideas I had, and it's not too crazy, but anyhow, was that we do it like other jobs. We do it like a contract, and we provide what services we want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and put it out for bids. The other thing is that maybe before it comes to the animal control, it goes to any one of the volunteer companies or entities, and if they can take them before you get involved and adopt them somewhere or whatever, it seems like that would be a big step in curing a lot of the problems that we appear to have with it. But it's, I think this animal control thing, it's really a lot to read and absorb in here. It's, what is it, 700 and some pages?
It's a little more than that because we added some more reference materials since pre-agenda.
But anyhow, there's a lot of good stuff in there, so hopefully we can achieve what we need to do to make this an excellent county for animal control. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Any other comments or questions?
Just to address one of those, and Kay, you and I have listened to some information about this, but once we do the RFQ and we get an animal shelter facility study needs assessment done, we depend on their needs. I mean, their expertise, because there's people that have duplicated this hundreds of times around the country. So we're not going to be doing this blindly. This is going to be somebody that involves professional veterinarians, all types of folks that, we can bring in outside experts along with our community support and get it done the correct way, the right way, the first time.
Thank you, Commissioner Mowley. Anyone else? I want to close up with a few comments. When I came to Brian, when the Vice Chairman and I came to Brian, I laid out some specific instructions what I wanted to see done. For you folks here in the audience today, this is not going to happen overnight. We have a road to follow, and it's going to be a meticulous road because I've laid out some specific instructions of how we want to see this done. It's going to be, until we get a needs analysis, and the Vice Chair and I have looked at several companies that have done needs analysis, we don't really know what route we want to take fully at this time. As Scott said, we want to do it right the first time. In conjunction with the North Carolina County Commissioners Association, Brian and I, myself and Scott, we've taken some field trips. We spoke with a number of counties that have some great facilities. But this is my desire. I want Burke County to be number one when we finish. I like being number one. So that's what I want it to be, and I want people to emulate what we do here in this county. We know what your desires are, and we've listened closely, and I think you understand that our desires are just like yours. But I do want you to understand that this is going to be time-consuming, and it's going to be a meticulous process. I can't say enough for Brian and Kay and Lance what they've done to issue a 800-some page report. Kay and I were corresponded sometimes after midnight at night on the computer trying to get this report ready as quickly as we could. So please be aware that until we get that needs analysis, we really, that will paint the picture for us to give us that roadmap that we need to follow. And with your input, when these meetings do occur, and we have these civil meetings and get your input, that's what we want, and that's the direction we're going to take. I'm not going to say anything else. Will entertain a motion at this time. 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. Chairman, I move to solicit feedback from citizens, animal advocates, and animal rescue agencies Special time-limited email address will be created to receive input from citizens on the recommendations. Further, a staff-facilitated workshop with focus groups, which will be animal advocates and rescue agencies, will be held within 90 days. We will direct staff to issue a request for qualifications for an animal shelter facility study needs assessment. And third, appropriate up to $15,000 of the general fund balance for refreshing the animal shelter.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard Scott's motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. All opposed? Ladies and gentlemen, that passed unanimously 4-0. Thank you so very much. You can clap if you want to. All right, moving on to our, that means you have to stay and listen to the next item. Moving on to our next decision item is Burke County Sworn Law Enforcement Officer Pay Plan Adjustment presented by Rhonda Lee, our HR Director. Rhonda? Rhonda, you just sit down and take a breath until some folks leave, okay?
Ready?
Banks, will you get that door for me? Oh, they got it, okay, good. All right, Rhonda.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I apologize up front because my voice has been like this for about a week now. So Kay has already told me to lean over this thing. So I'm going to do the best I can. If you can't hear me, just yell at me or whatever. I might have to get Margaret to come up here with me. But anyway, the chairman asked HR to conduct a market analysis for the starting pay for deputy sheriff and detention officer positions. We did conduct that analysis, and we compared ourselves with the counties that border Burke County and several of the municipalities within Burke County. The results of our analysis show that the current starting rate for Burke County deputy sheriff positions has shifted approximately 12% below the current market average since we studied this back in July, well, not July of 17, but in 2017. The current starting rate for Burke County detention officer positions has shifted approximately 10% below the current market average for this occupational group. In July, just to give you a little bit of history here, in July of 2017, the minimum and maximum salary ranges and current salaries of sworn law enforcement occupations were shifted up 2.5%. This brought Burke County at that time to 100% of the market average hiring rate for the area. And the entire county pay plan was increased 1.5% in July of 17, which at that time meant that sworn law enforcement officers received a total of 4% increase, and that was again in July of 2017. At that same time, county commissioners also approved sworn law enforcement certification pay, and that was for existing officers and newly hired officers who had obtained intermediate and or advanced law enforcement certifications. And what that meant was that for each of the certifications that they had, they received 1.5% added to their base pay at that time. Another thing that the county commissioners did in 2017 was they enhanced sworn law enforcement officer education pay. Officers that had an associate's degree received $500 annually, and those with a bachelor's degree receive $1,000 annually, and those with master's degrees receive $1,500 annually. That again was added to their base pay. Since then, since July of 2017, the following counties have implemented pay plan adjustments. That would be Avery, Caldwell, Catawba, Cleveland, Lincoln, and Rutherford. So it's just all around us that they had increased their pay since 2017. These adjustments that these other counties made are attributable to the recent upward shift in the market. So at the time, back in 2017, the minimum hiring rate at the time was $31,459, and now it's at $35,673. So that went up about $4,200 within about 2 years. In addition to all this happening, the Burke County Sheriff's Office has experienced an increase in employee turnover. We have people that have resigned, we have people that have retired. And so actually the Sheriff's Office usually has about a 4% turnover rate. Now it's sitting in around 17% turnover rate, which is quite an increase for them. This factor, in association with the decrease in people enrolling in BLET, has really caused a really competitive market right now, and it's making it very difficult for them to hire qualified folks to serve and protect our community. So for the Burke County Sheriff's Office to remain competitive in their recruitment and retention efforts, we are recommending that the sworn law enforcement pay plan, they have their own standalone pay plan, that their pay plan be increased 12% to the current hiring rate market average. It's also recommended that the salaries of those people that are sitting in the sworn law enforcement occupations also be shifted up 12%, but that excludes the sheriff. The pay plan analysis for department heads in the sheriff is currently being reviewed for this upcoming fiscal 19-20 budget year. So he would be included in that group. It is also recommended that the sworn law pay plan adjustments go into effect the pay period beginning March 23rd, which would be this Saturday, and then the first pay date would be April the 12th, that these folks would see the difference in their checks. There's currently one vacant detention officer position. That was the same at pre-agenda, so that really hasn't changed right now. But we have increased, as of today, we have 13 vacant sworn law positions that are vacant. So due to the fact that the detention officer isn't as critical a need as the sworn law, we're recommending that we hold off on any of those adjustments until the budget cycle, so which would be this coming July. The approximate, excuse me guys, my voice is the budgetary effect is approximately about $150,500 for the remainder of this year, and then approximately $558,000 annually. And that's all I have.
Thank you. You made it through it.
I did it. I did it.
Phenomenal. All right, gentlemen, questions for Rhonda?
Mr. Chairman, I have quite a few comments also. Talking to fellow commissioners at other counties and all that's going on, I spent a whole lot more time this week with this issue than I did with the animal control issue. Anyhow, I had Rhonda Lee to run me some stuff, and I understand everybody got a copy of it. Do you recall that copy? Let me give you a little research on that. I did not use the anticipated 2019 pay scale. I used the present calendar year 2018. And here is the ranking, and I'm not going to call out any names or anything like that. I did a kind of a wholesale ranking. You have two employees in the 90,000 range pay scale. You have one in the 80,000. You have 7 in the 70,000 range. You have 20 in the 60,000 range. You have 45 sheriff deputies in the 50,000 pay scale. You have 3 in the 40, and you have 3 in the 30s pay range. Now that's a total of 83, and I did not include any in the teens and stuff. It was obvious that they were not yet been employed a year. They were new employees. 8 out of the 83 are under the 50,000 range, and yet we do a wholesale request to improve all salaries. And I have long anticipated that we could come up with a system that justified, but just doing a wholesale, give everybody a raise is not what I view as a good pay system for any department, regardless who it is. If you're going to give somebody $10,000 or $5,000, would you pass that down? There ought to be something other than just somebody in some other town in Timbuktu, even if it is your next door county, makes more money. That is not justification to give raises. I am passing you a county comparison. I took this right off of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners 2018 book. I added Mecklenburg after I did the other ones, so I'll include it, but I didn't. Some of the comments might not include that. I put the important things I thought that would give us some directive of our pay, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at the tax rate, our tax rate for Burke County is higher than any county joining us. It's 69.5 or 0.695 is the correct way to say that. Taxable property per capita, that means the average tax for each person living in Burke County is $66,000. In Catawba, that number is 105. And you can go across the board. I'm not going to read them all out. It wouldn't make much sense to our audience. The average income per capita in Burke County is $32,538. Catawba County is $41,447. I'm going to pick on Catawba and Mecklenburg a little bit, just simply because that's a neighboring county. And you got to understand every county is not the same. Now, I got red figures there. If you look at taxable property per capita, that is a total of $5,874,260. Excuse me, $5,874,000. Still wrong. $5,874,267,000. If you skip to Catawba, you know what that number becomes? $16 billion over 3 times. 427, 250, and to expect a county who brings in only a third of the money that another one to compete with that county is a hardship on the taxpayers of that county. You cannot continue to match dollars when you don't have the funds to match it with. Average income per capita, again, $32,538 for Burke, $41,447 for Catawba. Total is $2,895,882 for Burke County. For Catawba, again, 3 times as much, $6,484,383,150. You're taking in 3 times as much. Interesting, the average property tax value in Burke, and the latest I've got they had was the year 2015, was 113. In Catawba, it was 132. The average weekly wage, this is important, folks, $735 for Burke County, which is good. Probably more than most people anticipate. Catawba County is $841, $96 a week more. They average about $400 more a month, or $4,800 in round figures a year to pay their expenses. If you run across the gamut, Caldwell's is $736 a week. McDowell is $621, Rutherford is $671, Cleveland is $785, Alexander is $661, and this is where I wanted to include Mecklenburg, $1,232. That's almost $400 more in Mecklenburg County than it is in Burke County. And yet some won't think that you can keep up with that kind of expenditures in your county, your small. Number of businesses in Burke is 1,463, Catawba 4,400, over 3 times as many. I lost my place. In Caldwell, it's 1,658, McDowell 485, Rutherfordton 1,294, and Cleveland 2,008. Alexander County has 567. Mecklenburg 37,000. More than all these other counties combined by about twice. Sworn officers in Burke County is 88, and I didn't have, that's 2016, and I forgot how many we added last year. I believe it was 12. Anyhow, it's close to 100. Catawba's 145, Caldwell's 103, McDowell's 44, Rutherford is 80, Cleveland is 103, Alexander is 39, and Mecklenburg is 294. Number of county employees, and this does not include sheriffs, 635 for Burke. Catawba is 1,081, Caldwell is 543, McDowell is 360, Rutherford 450, Cleveland 823, Alexander 357, and Mecklenburg 5,550. I did the percentages on that just because I was interested. Burke has 7.1% of its population as a county employee. Catawba has 6.9. Caldwell has 6.6. McDowell's is 7.8. And Rutherford is 6.7. Cleveland is 8.3. Alexander is 9.4, high. And look at Mecklenburg. Theirs is only 5.26. That was a surprise. Population from state figures are 90,000 for Burke, 154,000 for Catawba, 81,000 for Caldwell, 44,975 for McDowell, 67,303 for Rutherford. Cleveland is 97,440, and Alexander is 36,971. Mecklenburg is 967,971. Population figures that was from the last state figures. The Council of Government had, instead of 90,300 for Burke, has 89, and they have 156,450 for Catawba. Now, I know you can't see these figures, but the point of it is that we're not any way, shape, or form out of line with what we're paying our government employees. We're not low. You can use starting wages to make a point, but that's not where most people are. All but about 6 or 7 of those 83 people are, they've been the officer for some time. I think the average income per capita is we're fourth from the bottom in Burke. Average property value, though, is second from the top. Average weekly wage, third from the bottom. When I look at these numbers and the pay systems and what they are requesting in this, we're setting a precedent to include a increase, not in mid-year, but we're 3/4 through the year. I don't like the precedent that it sets. It's not accurate information. They don't, these are not my figures now. Rhonda Lee did these numbers for me. And, it shows what range that these officers make. And, Mr. Chairman, my suggestion was that we don't set this precedent, and when we do our budget for next year, we look at this a little different. And we put funds where it's needed and not just wholesale give everybody who happens to be wearing a badge a pay raise. That's not good for any of our departments. I can't emphasize enough that this is just, it's a freight train running away and out of cost control. Time we add that new jail and fully operate it, the sheriff's budget's going to be high as the schools, just about, within 10%. Now, does anybody have a question of the stuff that I'd be happy to try to answer it.
Gentlemen, anybody have any questions for Commissioner Taylor?
I don't have any questions for Commissioner Taylor, but Rhonda, just as a matter of clarity, I did see the numbers that I think Commissioner Taylor was referring to. I believe when he began his comments, the numbers he gave were not base pay numbers. Those were total compensation numbers. Is
That's
that correct?
That's correct. So that's salary. There was a salary line, and then there was a benefits line, and that's combined.
So I just want to be sure we're not confused with apples and oranges. And
Yeah.
so we're talking about base numbers here that the staff has presented, and Commissioner Taylor's numbers were total compensation numbers.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a 12% increase to the Burke County Sworn Law Enforcement Pay Plan and to increase the salaries of existing Burke County sworn law enforcement officers by the same amount, excluding the sheriff, effective on the pay period beginning March 23, 2019, with the first pay date of April 12, 2019, and to appropriate up to $150,500 in general fund balance.
All right, you've heard Commissioner Britton's motion. All in favor signify by raising the right hand. That'll be 4-0, unanimous. I said all in favor. All right, all opposed. That will be 3-1, Commissioner Taylor in the negative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. All right, gentlemen, moving on to our reports and comments. Let's start over on the right-hand side with the county attorney.
No comments from me tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. Mr. Taylor?
Yes, just a second.
Okay.
In addition to the meetings and information already in your package, I did attend the Burke Soil and Water Essay Awards presentations. Participated in our first Ag Steering Web Conference, which lasted 45 minutes on the phone. I also attended, along with Jeff and Scott, and County Manager, the Burke County Cattlemen's annual meeting. And just a goodie, I wanted to pass each one of these. This was presented to us at our Greater Hickory MPO TAC meeting. It's entitled North Carolina Moves, and it highlights cargo that's moved by aviation, ferries and ports, highways, pedestrians, bicycles, by rail, by public transportation. And I thought it would be excellent if I could get the participation. Johnny, you're on the library board. If somebody asked me to do a report at the end of the year, it's ready made for you. But it has a lot of information. If you'll drop one off at that library, Kate, could you drop one off at Valdez? And I'll take care of Hildebrand, and they'll all three have that information for that. And the only other thing, Mr. Chairman, is there's a big event going on at Hildebrand Senior Center, so the library, this Saturday. Huge number of, I didn't bring that with me, but everything from getting free life skill tests and just a bunch of stuff. There's about 11 things on that thing.
All right.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Mr. Vice Chair?
The only thing I'll add, all my stuff's documented, but I will say I did attend a TDA board meeting this morning, and the numbers are looking good again this year. Numbers are up. I have a new hotel coming online. Relocations are up, which is fantastic. That's a good marker because we have people wanting to move here from all over the country. It's interesting to get those statistics, and they're doing a good job of gathering those. So exciting time to be living in Burke County. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Britton?
I'll just comment, DSS board did meet today as we do monthly, and our foster children continues to remain around 248, 250, kind of moves up and down a little bit. But it would just encourage any of our citizens who might have an interest in fostering or adopting folks. So we have lots of needs in our county, and would encourage you to consider, if you have the capacity and the desire to be a foster parent or even an adopting parent, to consider that. That's all I have.
Jeff mentioned the number of adults that's in foster care, too.
98.
98.
I believe, we often don't think about adults, but we have, I believe it's 98 adults wards in our county now that's being taken care of as well. So lots of needs in our county, and just encourage you to help in any way you can.
Madam Clerk, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just a couple quick announcements, reminders that March 29th is our legislative breakfast meeting with Western Piedmont Community College at the Higher Education Center. Our April 2nd pre-agenda meeting will be held at the Lake James Fire Department, so hope folks will come up to the lake and join us for that. April 2nd is also the 4-H Achievement Night. And April 17th is the Master Gardener graduation. I would also just like to thank you for the opportunity to have worked on the animal services endeavor. It was really interesting and kind of nice to do something a little different. That's all I got.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I did skip one event. Chairman Carswell and I will be at a chamber event. It starts at 7:30 Friday morning. It's called Coffee and Conversation. So if you want to come ask us questions or heckle us or whatever you'd like to do, it's open to the public, so we love to have you. And that's at Judges Riverside, that will be serving breakfast for the first time. So if you'd like to join us, please come, 7:30 Friday morning. Thank you.
Mr. County Manager?
Yes, sir. The event that the Commissioner Taylor was talking about, we have, I think, has been placed on our Facebook page, so anybody that's interested in knowing what all is going on and available to you out there, they've got a nice list of different services that would be available to anybody that's interested. I hope you can come out. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. A lot of good business was conducted, and thank everyone for their participation. As we close tonight, I want to remind everybody looking in by TV or what other means to please have your pet spayed or neutered. Also, please pick up one piece of trash and don't throw any down. If you would, we're trying to keep Burke County clean. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? If not, I will call us in recess until we meet on March the 29th for our legislative breakfast meeting. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hello, I'm Brian Steen, the Burke County Manager, and I'd like to introduce you to Zeke, Ty, and Chloe. They're my 3 pets, and I adopted them all from rescue agencies. I hope if you're thinking about getting a dog or a cat, you'll consider contacting our local rescue agencies and adopt one. If you have a cat or a dog, I hope you'll also consider having them spay or neutered to help us reduce the number of unwanted pets in Burke County. Whatever you can do to help us would be appreciated. And in a moment, we'll show you some contact information for both the rescue agencies in Burke County and agencies that can help you with low-cost spay and neuter. Thank you again. I hope you have a great day.